Welcome to the Coach Zing Show, helping you work less, earn more, and reach more people through creative content marketing. Join the Coach Zingers community, where the world's best coaches, therapists, authors, and speakers come together to discover the latest trends, forge powerful joint ventures, and grow their business together. Go to coachzing.com/community to join. And now, here's your host, Doug Foresta.
Hello and welcome back to the Coach Zing Show. This is Doug Foresta, as always, helping you to work less, earn more, and help more people through creative content marketing. My guest today is Susie Miller. I know you get a lot out of this episode. I want to encourage, I'll say a little bit about her and bring her right on. Susie Miller is known internationally as the Better Relationship Coach. She's an author, speaker, and coach. She's dedicated to helping you create better relationships in 30 days or less, even if you're the only one who's making the effort. As a therapist turned coach, she equips high potential entrepreneurs and executives to reduce stress, improve communication, increase intimacy, and not bankrupt their relationships in pursuit of profits and success. She's the best-selling author of Listen, Learn, Love, How to Dramatically Improve Your Relationships in 30 Days or Less. And for over 20 years, she helped people not settle for mediocre relationships with God, themselves, and others. She's a cancer survivor, and her story includes overcoming numerous life challenges, but she's been known for her outlook on life as a possibilitarian. I think I said that right. Susie has been married to John for 32 years, and they have 3 adult children, live in the DC area. And I'll give you this first link, which is susiemiller.com. That's susiemiller.com. We're also going to give you a link for a free gift later in the show, so stay tuned for that. Susie Miller, welcome to the Coach Zing Show.
Thanks for having me, Doug. It's funny. I listen to my bio. The older I get, the longer it gets.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm like, I got to cut some of that out. But it's so funny because it's, it's already shortened. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I love the work you do with folks to help them grow and make a difference in people's lives.
Thank you so much. And I was like, wow, I could have really used you in the last couple of years. So,
I'm finding that it's really interesting that you say that, because so many of us as entrepreneurs pour our heart and soul into our businesses, mostly for the people we care about is our why. And then we have really relationships that struggle. And so that's really how I ended up in this niche. So many of my clients were like, I love my spouse, but my business might be killing my marriage.
Right. Yeah, it's exactly. And so, I guess the first question that I'll ask you, because you do such important work, is what is your favorite way to get the word out about what you do to the people that most need to hear it?
Content marketing is relatively new to me. My favorite way to get it out, I have begun doing videos. And that has been a great medium because, there's so much noise in our world when people can see you and hear you versus reading a written word. So audio, like podcast interviews are fabulous, but video, little clips and snippets really make a difference because people can connect with you. And so I was really hesitant at first because, girls are always hard on themselves and how they look and all that kind of stuff. But I really just had to bite the bullet and do it. And it's made a huge difference to present my content that way because people get a feel for who I am.
And do you share those like on YouTube, or how do you get those out?
Yes. Oh, that's a great idea. A great question. I put them on YouTube. I have what I call a Better Relationship TV. It's actually a online internet TV show I do every week. And that's, put on social media, Twitter, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. So, and also on my blog. So there's lots of places where I have it accessible, but it is a way, there's lots of avenues people can get to me.
And, actually, I would love to talk a little bit about what you were talking about, which is, we're so busy creating content and we're so busy building our business that sometimes our relationships do suffer. I'm curious if you have any advice for coaches about how to keep our relationships going, and even when we're trying to keep our business going.
I have a lot of advice. In fact, I have a whole profit method that I have come up with that I teach all my entrepreneurial and executive clients, because a lot of times I think that entrepreneur feels like I don't have any more time. I'm stretched so thin. I don't have 2 minutes to rub together, take a shower, let alone spend time with my spouse or my kids, because this business is taking everything out of me. And so when they hear, how do you invest in relationship? How do you tend a marriage? It's like, oh, I have no room.
One more thing I've got to do.
Yeah.
Right?
So I teach this, what I call the drip campaign. I teach people to be really intentional, and I really give them permission to say to their spouse, this is really a big deal. And kind of validate, you're right, you are sharing me with another love. And yes, it's okay to be jealous. And how are we going to manage expectations and really deal with them? And so I have some really concrete ways. One I will give you that I think has been really successful for all my clients, and that is with the use of the smartphone. A lot of times it is not the big gestures that make a huge difference in relationships. It's all the little things. And so I have most of my clients set themselves a little alarm to send a text or to do something like a touch point with their spouse or their kiddos so that they know, hey, I thought of you. Because a lot of times the day will go by and we might say, oh, you came to mind, but we did nothing with it. I have a client who has a little Post-it note on his desk with a couple little sentences that he can text to his wife through the day. And it has made a difference because she feels like she's still important.
It's interesting that you said that, because I've definitely heard that, in my own relationships about somebody saying, it's like you have this thing that's, this is so important to you. It feels like it's, as important. It feels like a mistress or something like that.
I call it, this is what I call it, the mistress I said yes to.
The mistress I said yes to.
So, because nothing excites us. Think about a business. Our eyes light up. We get all excited when we have a new idea. We're thinking about it all the time. And, we're consumed with thoughts and wanting to invest our time, money, energy. It's like when we fell in love and suddenly our spouse is going, wait, all that energy used to be mine.
And so, how do you, I know you just talked about like the idea of, how you spend more time, but I'm curious about, so how do you navigate if you're, the expectations, I guess the overall high level expectation of your spouse saying, maybe you didn't have this when you went into the relationship, right? Maybe you became an entrepreneur. Like, I'm curious about your thoughts about just, is it okay to have this mistress?
I would say yes. And I think one of the pushbacks I hear from most people is, this is for the family. This is to provide the lifestyle my wife or husband wants. This is for us. And so how do I not have it? So one of the things I do, and I married a man who started his own business when he was 19. We've been married a long time. He's been through numerous businesses. I was a stay-at-home mom. And then as my kids grew, I became an entrepreneur. So I've lived on both sides of it. And now as my husband looks at me sometimes and says, are you going to put that phone down? But my answer is a resounding yes. But it's so important that we acknowledge what our spouse feels. Like, I feel like I have to share you. We hate that feeling, and we're so worried they're going to be mad that we scramble and we try to explain it away versus going, you are sharing me. And I bet it's hard. And so when you can name the truth and then you can sit down and come together on it versus pretending it's not the mistress, because she knows,
right.
They know when your spouse knows when you're so caught up in something else that excites you and it's not coming to them. So I do a lot of really practical, tactical things that help kind of relieve the tension and things get better pretty quickly.
That's great. That's a great, I think that's, and again, to me, it's all related because one of the things that people spend so much time doing in their business is creating content,
Right.
And we do get excited. And I guess part of what I was thinking, to be honest with you, is I was like, well, I've got all these people excited about starting podcasts. I'm like, am I destroying everyone's relationship?
No, because here's the thing. We have to eat. Like, we have 3 grown kids.
Yeah.
They went to college. We live in a nice home in the DC area because my husband was a very successful businessman, because he invested there. And I think the myth, Doug, is people think there's either balance or they have to be doing everything versus doing a few things well. So absolutely, you're helping people start a podcast, and you could potentially be helping their long-term relationship and their ability to provide for their family. And it's just navigating those rapids while they're doing it, because we tend to be like, well, all or nothing. And I think it's really important to, just say, yes, it's hard. And there's a whole exercise I do where people can really talk about their expectations and, be honest. I think it's kind of like the kid who gets in trouble and you scramble and you don't want him to be in trouble. But if you go, you're right. I'm pretty excited about my business. As a coach, you probably think about your clients, right?
Absolutely. I think about them all the time.
Exactly. And so they're in your head. And one of the things, here's a hint for all the men listeners. One of the things I tell all my men clients is, if you have kids, look at your wife and say, it's a bit like you having the kiddos in the back of your mind when we go on vacation. I don't ask you to forget about them. I ask you to focus.
Yeah.
So, and every woman goes, oh, and they suddenly get it. So of course you think about your clients. It's just a matter of managing that.
How about for people where both people are entrepreneurs? Do you find, I'm curious about, that's like I feel like there's a whole, there's like these other people in the room with them.
It's like, oh my gosh, it's like walking on hot coals. It's funny. You talked about, so my husband and I are both entrepreneurs. And at this point, you talked about creating content. And this absolutely happened to me the other night. We had planned to watch a movie together. And I went upstairs to my office to do a few things. We're empty nesters. So, we kind of joke that any night can be date night. And I got busy with some writing I was doing. Lost total track of time, Doug. And about 9 o'clock, my husband came up and he was like, just a little disappointed you didn't come down to watch the movie. And everything in me wanted to be like, well, you could have come up here, or I was busy creating content for the, help pay the bills. And I really wanted to kind of, have my inner defense attorney just jab. And what I said was, oh man, you're right. I'm sorry I lost track of time. That probably sucks, right? And you could just feel the tension go away because all he wanted to be was acknowledged. Yeah. So when both couples are entrepreneurs, or even if one's an entrepreneur and one's an executive, or one's a full-time mom, which is a whole lot of jobs all in one, I think it's really important to just not always agree. I didn't say I did it on purpose. I just said, you're right. What I did hurt you. Sorry.
That's great. And that deflates so much, right? Instead of creating instead of the defense attorney. And one of the things, Susie, that we were chatting a little bit before we started, and I know that your background is as a therapist, and then you went into coaching, and that's something that I know I know we have quite a few therapists who are listening to this, who either want to expand their coaching practice or want to get started coaching. Can you say a little bit about like what that journey was like to switch over from therapy to coaching?
Sure. It's funny that you asked me that, Doug. In the last month, I've probably coached 3 or 4 therapists to do exactly that. I think 2 things happen. One is you have to take off the therapist hat and stop thinking dollars for hours and really realize you bring a lot more value to the table and look at kind of your package deal. It is like any change, it's a death of something. It's the end of something. And I think one of the things I did for a while that wasn't smart, that really hindered my progress as a coach, was I tried to straddle both. Mm-hmm. And so I think one of the things I think is really important is set an end date, begin to transition some of your clients out, and then begin your new coaching with new people so that you have an exit strategy, but you're not like stopping dead with no new clients. That's awful. And I think we're so afraid that we won't have new clients that we linger and linger and linger. So, get to a point, come up with your coaching packages, and anybody new coming in referral wise, start building that business, and then just kind of draw a line in the sand and say, I'm stopping therapy at this point.
I think that's great. And I can totally relate to that because I'm only down to a few clients, but it's definitely for me as a therapist, like it's the letting go of it entirely and the death. It is like, it feels like a death. Like, yeah,
it is. It's a death. It's the ending of something. And there's an old song, and I'm going to date myself and sound so ignorant, but it's every new beginning is another new beginning's end.
That's right. Yeah.
And I love that because it reminds me that I am letting go of something. And so mourn and realize that you don't want to let go of it because there's some good things that you're going to give up, but there's some good things that you're going to go to. And it is hard. It is hard. And so sometimes I think it's a matter of honesty with ourselves of going, this is hard and I'm sad, but I'm moving forward.
And I would like to thank the insurance companies for making it a little bit easier for all of us to make those decisions.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing also, I think, and this can also encourage your therapists who are wanting to go into coaching. We live in the DC area. I work with government officials as well as entrepreneurs. I've had CIA clients, and really coaching is so much easier for them to swallow, join in on, be excited about. You don't go to Starbucks and say, hey, there's my therapist in line. No. But I've had people go, hey, there's my coach. Because everybody, we have fitness coaches, weight loss coaches, athletic coaches. And so it is a much more palatable thing for people to say, oh yeah, sure, I have a coach. And that to me was a huge benefit of moving away from therapy.
So the other thing I'm curious about is in terms of, when you get started, you said, okay, I'm going to be a coach. What were the things like, did you start with a website? Did you start with just, hey, I'm curious about sort of that beginning of how did you start to let people know, okay, I'm a coach now? Because I know therapists struggle with that.
I did 2 things. One, I'm a kind of find a way, make a way kind of girl, and I've been blogging. So I began to look at a website, but I actually hired a business coach. And I worked with a man named Jim Palmer who does this.
I love Jim. Okay. Yes.
So Jim does this Dream Biz Academy, and I went to it last September, and he has what he calls this $1 million platform. And piece by piece by piece, I've done what he said to do. And in a year, I literally have put out a book, started a podcast, had a TV show. I mean, a lot of very practical things that take the momentum and swing it. And so that's a piece I would highly recommend for people to take a look at. And I can't recommend Jim highly enough. I have a number of business coaches, so they could still need a podcast coach, that kind of stuff like you. So I don't want to take your clients.
You're not. First of all, I love Jim. I'm actually going to be going to Dream Biz Academy, and
I'm so glad we get to meet you. I'm speaking at it.
Oh, cool. Okay, so so I love Jim, and actually I was going to say I will give a shout out right now to say Jim Palmer is awesome. I mean, he's been on the show several times. Please don't feel like I have always said I have a man crush on Jim. So
he's a great guy, and he actually has a webinar series he's doing where there are some really discounted tickets. So it's dreambizacademy.com/gold.
Okay.
OLD. So
there you go.
Anyway, so to me, it's having that in place and having a group of people who are going to help you. Just like as a therapist, you have those colleagues you ran ideas and cases by. You need to have a group of people who are excited about what you're doing and move you forward into the next stage.
Right.
And then the other thing I did was I kind of took off my therapist hat and said, I'm a coach. I'm a coach. And it was, I'll tell you, this might not be for you, but for me, it was really humbling because a therapist with some master's degree sounded very official and very professional. And a coach sounded like I hung up my shingle and called myself a coach.
Right.
So I had to get away from those limiting beliefs and really believe in what I was doing and just begin to talk about it. You have to really talk about what you offer.
So then that's an interesting thing as well, because sometimes people forget that content marketing is also about just talking to people. So did that help as well? Like just telling people what you did? And
yes, I think we get freaked out by the word content marketing and we think it's supposed to be something other than an availability and access to our brilliance. I have a guy I worked with once and I said, you just help people deliver their brilliance. So it's that idea of talking to folks both online, offline, I love being podcast guests because I meet the best people and find listeners I would never find. It really is kind of not blowing your own horn, but being willing to say, I have something to offer you. And if I don't offer it to you, I'm being selfish.
Yeah. And I think that that's a very different mindset as well. Like I feel that as when we're therapists, we really can hide behind, Doug Foresta, LICSW.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to really express, well, who is Doug?
Right.
And I wonder if you see that shift as well about the shift of being in a role versus being a person.
That's a great question, Doug, and a real phenomenon for people. And I think partially generationally, I'm a cusper. I have millennial kids. And so we did your credentials mattered and you could hide behind your title versus you really, as a coach, have to embrace who you are and put that out there and know that that's enough. And what I've noticed with the millennials is they're not real title oriented. They're like, hey, do you have experience? Can you help me? Let's go for it. So it's kind of really embracing that sense of who I am is part of the value I bring versus the title. Absolutely.
Yeah, we spend so much, after, how many years, 20.
And how much money?
I know.
And it's so funny. When I first started coaching, I'll laugh, and my mom won't mind if I tell her. She was like, okay, but if this doesn't work, you can always go back to therapy. You have that union card, And it was the fear I really had to shut down and kind of throw my heart all the way over the line. Because just like when we first started being therapists, it wasn't like suddenly we had six figures. We built up like with everything else. So it's been a really wild journey, but I'm really grateful I made the shift.
Beautiful. I think that your work is I don't know anyone who doesn't, have a relationship. And if you're in business, you need to have relationships. And if you're in life, you need to have relationships. So please tell people, I introduced you, but if you can tell our clients a little bit more about what you do. And also I told them, I know that you have a special link for them for a free toolkit. So if you can share that as well.
Sure. Thanks, Doug. That's so kind of you. My kind of tagline is I'm a better relationship coach and I help people create better relationships in 30 days or less. And we all have at least one relationship that we wish was better. And that's where I can help people. I really believe, Doug, that relationships are the currency of today. We used to trade in chickens and eggs and then it went to the gold standard and now it's the inflated dollar. But it's the people we connect with, the people that know us, that either refer us or clients we work with who give us their money. It's all about relationships. And there's no real good classes for relationships. And so helping people create good relationships is just fun for me. So there's that element of it. And in my book, I talk about 3 skills that are really easy to implement. It's a quick, easy read. And I think that when we are able to do that, if you can build good relationships, your practice, your coaching, your, author, you will never be without people who want to connect with you. It's when people don't connect with you through the relationship model that you end up with, an empty bank account.
Yeah, I think that's great. And then
the free gift. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So like Doug said, you can find my hub, my podcast, all kinds of articles and stuff and coaching and speaking I do on susiemiller.com. That's SUSIE Miller.com. But if you add a / and then Coach Zing, there's a gift for entrepreneurs. It's a little toolkit about how to, there's a one that's got relationship apps and some communication skills and 3 little, ebook downloads that you can get just that will help you, be able to not bankrupt your relationships.
Susie Miller, thank you so much for joining me on the Coach Thing Show and sharing your words of wisdom. I greatly appreciate it.
It was great being a guest, Doug, and I can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah, same here. Thank you. Thanks so much. And I want to remind all of you that if you've not subscribed to the show, go ahead and click subscribe. Also, if you know another coach or therapist that's looking for valuable information about how do I get the word out about what I do, tell them about the show because it's a free resource. We have over 300 episodes now with fantastic guests sharing how to work less, earn more, and help more people. Till next time, this is Doug Foresta at the Coach Singh Show.
Thank you for listening to the Coach Singh Show. Subscribe to us via iTunes, and please leave us a review. It helps us grow our awesome tribe. This show is brought to you by CoachZing.com's Speak to Publish book system. If your book is stuck in your head, we can help you get it out in just a dozen hours of your time. Go to CoachZing.com for more information. Have you joined the Coach Zingers community yet? You'll get exclusive access to private mastermind calls where you can get instant marketing help from industry experts. Plus, we'll help you forge deals and partnerships with other like-minded professionals. Go to CoachZing.com/community to join now.